Hello everyone, welcome to Out of Spec Testing. I'm Ryan, and today we've got a special Tesla Model S. This is actually a 2019 Tesla Model S standard range, so it has the 75 kilowatt hour battery. But the kicker is it has 250,000 miles on it. And as far as we can tell, it's on the original battery, pretty much original everything. So we're going to be taking this on our 10% challenge. That's our road trip simulation test. Now, being a 6-year-old Tesla with slower charging, not a big battery, peak speeds around 130 kilowatts, I'm not expecting the biggest numbers here, but it should still be interesting, and I'm just really curious about a car that has 250,000 miles on it. This is the 2019 Tesla Model S dual motor standard range. This was the entry-level Model S in 2019. It has a 75 kilowatt hour battery, and it's rated for an EPA range of 285 miles. Now, I think that the biggest thing here is the 250,000 miles on the odometer for this, which is absolutely insane. It's a huge amount, and through those miles and over time, Tesla has limited the supercharging power. It can only do about 130-ish kilowatts at its peak. It's also not the best curve. However, this is still a sedan, and we got a decently good efficiency on our 70 mile per hour range test, so I am curious to see how this will do. I don't think it will really compare very well with a lot of other sedans, but it'll be interesting to see, and gosh, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to drive this a 250,000 mile Tesla Model S for testing. We're going to be doing our 10% challenge tonight, and that's our road trip simulation test. The first thing that we did was set the tires to the factory recommended pressures like we always do. Next, I drove the car, preconditioned it, and got to precisely 10% state of charge, and I am here at a Tesla Supercharger. Not sure if you'll be able to see that or not, but at the Tesla Supercharger, precisely 10%, and we're going to plug in and charge for exactly 15 minutes. Now, there is a little bit of a delay from when you plug in and when it actually starts charging. We call that the handshake time, and we record it separately, so we'll have 15 minutes of real charging. During those 15 minutes, I'll be in the car and have the climate control running. This is, again, to simulate a road trip. Oftentimes, when you're on a road trip at a charging stop, you'll be hanging out in your car with climate control running. You want to keep yourself comfortable, but this is actually a pretty important detail while charging, because this puts extra stress on the HVAC system. That system is responsible for making sure the cabin is comfortable and also making sure the battery is at the right temperature. So by having the climate control running, that puts a little bit extra strain. But again, we think that this is realistic. We're trying to simulate a realistic road trip. After 15 minutes are up, I'm going to go ahead, unplug, note how much energy was delivered, what state of charge I'm at, and go ahead, head onto the highway. I'll be, of course, using the most efficient drive settings possible, keeping the climate control between 68 and 72 auto mode, and I will be driving at a precisely 80 miles per hour GPS speed. And that's a pretty quick speed, but this is the speed that we chose and the speed that we've done for all of our tests, so you can compare all of our tests to each other. Be careful about conditions, but they're all done at 80 miles an hour, so we're going to continue them at 80 miles an hour. I'm going to continue along the highway at 80, and once I've used about half of my replenished range, I'm going to go ahead and turn around. I'm going to set this charger as a destination. This will do a couple things. It makes sure this is an out and back loop style test. This helps negate any elevation gain or loss and minimize the effects of wind. It also makes sure that the battery preconditions itself. This requires a little bit of extra energy and might hurt range a little bit, but again, this is probably what you'll be doing on a road trip. You'll be hopping from charger to charger. We'll be staying on the highway this entire time, and I'll be keeping an eye on the state of charge. Once I move from 11% down to 10% state of charge, that's going to be our result. That's how far we went on our 10% challenge. But we're all ready to go, so let's go ahead and plug on in. Go ahead, start. 1, 2. 18-second handshake. I've started the timer. Now, I have charged this before, and it's not the best charging vehicle. It usually does not ramp up super quickly, and anything over like 115 kilowatts is pretty good. So let's see how high we can get here. Still just ramping up very slowly. You can keep an eye on the miles per hour number right there, and that will show you that it's still increasing. Nice. All right, and we'll see if this changes at all. But so far, 117 kilowatts, 118. I'm seeing it already start tapering. We're only a minute and 40 seconds in, but this is what we've got. Unfortunately, this is kind of the reality with these old Tesla Model S's. They have a pretty rough charging curve. After so much time and so many miles, they really reduce its capabilities. We're about 4.5 minutes in, and we are now at 100 kilowatts. So it didn't taper super quickly, but it also is not a very high maximum. Just wanted to show, we can see that's the HVAC system working, almost 7 kilowatts, and the battery temperature is pretty good. Still maintaining the 100 kilowatts. And we'll keep an eye on the amount of energy delivered. Halfway through, we're pulling 93 kilowatts, 92, and it's delivered about 12.5 kilowatt hours. So nothing too impressive. We'll see how the rest of the charging session goes and see what the final figures will be. 10 minutes in, we are now at 32% state of charge, pulling 82 kilowatts, 14 kilowatt hours to the battery, and it's delivered 16.3 kilowatt hours. We're about 12.5 minutes in, and 74 kilowatts is about the speed that you would get if you were splitting a version 2 Tesla Supercharger, which is usually feeling pretty brutal. But right now we're all alone. This is just the charging curve. Stop. Okay, 22.3 kilowatt hours. Oh no, cancel. All right, 22.3 kilowatt hours is not a whole lot, so we can unplug, get everything all set up. Oh, I smell the devil's lettuce. All right, we're at 41% state of charge. Give me a moment and you'll join me on the action cam. Okay, I can tell you can see some green. Don't know if you can see the number, but it's at 41%. And I just put in the Wellington Maverick as a destination, just so we have something. And I'll be heading out. One other thing is we charged up 31%. We added 31%, I should say. So I said that we want to turn around somewhere around halfway through our replenished range. If we were to do that, that would mean we'd use about 16%, and that would mean that we'd turn around somewhere around 25% state of charge. That will be a lot easier because we have this Tesla navigation system, and it will tell us a projected state of charge. So we'll have that all under control and shouldn't be a problem at all. We're joining onto the highway, but unfortunately it looks like we're behind this Nissan Micra or something along those lines. I don't know, it's a car, and they're not going very quickly, but that's all right. We'll be able to accelerate, and I've already checked GPS, 81 miles per hour indicated is 80 miles per hour GPS. Let this person pass, and should be good to go. And I've set cruise control. And auto steer as well. We're good to go. Now we can just sit back, relax, and settle in for this probably pretty short ride. I also thought I'd show you guys we're on this low suspension. We got chill acceleration, range mode, so standard regen braking. All the stuff is good to go. Now, I thought I'd take a moment to tell you a little bit about this 252,000 mile Tesla Model S. I've been in it all day. I've done a 0 to 100% charging test, range test, and now I'm doing this 10% challenge. And I am so impressed, guys. I don't know what to say. I know this is a 6-year-old car with an insane amount of miles, but everything seems to be working great. There's hardly any indication that it has as many miles as it does. Yes, the interior is worn. There's a little bit of a hole on the driver's seat, and it feels like the seat's very broken in, but it's extremely comfortable. Most of the leather surfaces are pretty shiny, and you know, they're older leather stuff, so they can kind of show their age a little bit, but everything's fine. Everything works great. The software is fine. I'm just really impressed with how good this is, and for the price that they were able to get this at, with incentives below 10 grand, we're talking about something that's like a Chevy Bolt competitor, and I think this is a lot more car than a Chevy Bolt. Of course, you do have the concern of repairs with a Tesla Model S, but still, this is a lot more car than a Chevy Bolt, and I think the owners are very happy with their purchase. I'm sure I would be too. Overall, there's not really a whole lot of complaints other than the charging's not great and the range is not great. The sound system's good, the ride is very comfortable, the adaptive cruise control, lane centering, everything works really well, like you would expect from a Tesla, and it's just been a really pleasant place to spend all day. Very impressed with this, so really happy to see that. We're now at 35% state of charge. Just thought I'd do a quick check-in, and we have gone 11 miles. We're just under 3 miles per kilowatt hour. We've used, it says 3.6 kilowatt hours, it says over here on the left. So far we've driven 26 miles. We've used 9.9 kilowatt hours, and we're doing 380 watt hours per mile. I haven't done the math on that, but well under 3 miles per kilowatt hour, probably 2.6 or something. But regardless, we're going to be turning around soon-ish, but we're a little bit a ways away from a exit, so sometimes it happens like this, but that's all right. We'll still have enough to get to the charger, so no problem. Here's our exit. We're going to be turning around here, doing nice, gentle, regenerative brakes, put as much energy back into the battery as possible. And as you can see, we've got the supercharger put in as a destination. I actually just checked Scan My Tesla on a phone that I have over here, and the cell battery temps are still very hot from the charging session, so I doubt that it'll use much energy for heating the battery, but still, it's in, and if it doesn't want to cool or heat the battery, it will do that. So again, simulating a road trip. Now we just turn around, do a nice gentle acceleration up to 81 miles an hour. Perfect. And there it is. I don't know if you got to see, but right there, 10% state of charge. We went 53 miles with efficiency of 336 watt hours per mile, or just about 3 miles per kilowatt hour. That's actually a pretty respectable efficiency, especially considering that the temperature's in the 40-degree range, but 53 miles is not all that impressive. Let's take a minute and see how this compares with some other sedans and the rest of the competition. Okay guys, the first thing I need to review is just how nice this car was. It had 250,000 miles on the odometer. That's the equivalent of driving from here to the moon. And it still felt great. Don't get me wrong, you can still tell it's a used vehicle. There's a squeak here, a rattle there, and there's a little hole in the seat. Leather was shiny and the seat was very broken in, but really, you couldn't tell that it had 250,000 miles on it. If you watched my range test, you'll know that there was some significant degradation, but it's relatively modest considering the mileage. And beyond the battery degradation, again, there's very little indicating that it has 250,000 miles on the odometer. It just feels really nice. With that, let's move on to those results. And there's no way around it. 22.3 kilowatt hours is an abysmal result. It's one of the worst that we've seen. The only things worse are a city car and a Toyota BZ4X that reached its daily charging limit. It's safe to say this is a poor charging vehicle. The peak is not high and it starts throttling almost immediately. We will also have a 0 to 100% charging test in case you're curious for a deep dive, but really, charging does not get better after these 15 minutes. It actually gets a heck of a lot worse. Charging speeds really slow down after 60%, and it took me nearly 3 hours to go from 0 to 100%. In other words, the charging test took nearly as long as the range test. Not good. Next, let's talk efficiency. One important thing to note is that when we're comparing efficiency in this 10% challenge, we use a calculated efficiency. That's miles driven divided by energy delivered. This number will be lower than the indicated efficiency because it also includes charging losses. Now, you may recall during the drive I was somewhat impressed with the efficiency. It was indicating somewhere around 3 miles per kilowatt hour. That would be a pretty solid result, but that's the indicated efficiency, not the calculated efficiency. The calculated efficiency was just 2.4 miles per kilowatt hour, and that's really quite disappointing. It's the least efficient sedan that we've tested yet. It's a bit less efficient than a Porsche Taycan rear-wheel drive, a bit less efficient than a Hyundai Ioniq 6 or a BMW i5. All of those vehicles were tested in more favorable conditions. Still, this old Model S was not able to even match the efficiency of the least efficient sedans that we've tested. To get some more context, it's approximately the same efficiency as an updated 2024 Polestar 2 Performance. Just really not a good result. I always say this 10% challenge requires a combination of good charging and good efficiency. This old Model S did poorly in both of these categories. Predictably, the overall result is really quite poor, 53 miles. This is one of the worst results that we've seen. Heck, there's even a city car, the Fiat 500e, that was able to go a little bit further than this. Yeah, conditions were a little bit better for that test, but we have to remember that we're comparing a sedan to a city car with a peak charging speed of 80 kilowatts. It is, however, probably a bit better than a Chevy Bolt. And, you know, realistically, with a purchase price with incentives under 10 grand, maybe that used Chevy Bolt's a good direct competitor. Okay, guys, I'll admit it. I'm kind of just softening the blow here because I like the car. This is not a good result. And with that being said, this is also a used car that cost less than 10 grand and has 250,000 miles on the odometer. Yeah, there are certainly some deficiencies, but overall, I have to say I'm super impressed. It was an extremely comfortable car, and although it charges slowly, it does everything that you need it to do. It's a good car. You just have to watch out for those repairs on those old Tesla Model S's. They can be frequent and they can be expensive. Well, that's pretty much all I have for you on this one. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.